I've been thinking about this for a while, and you know, if I could describe my ideology prior to this year, I would say a lot of it was anti-imperialist, right? And a lot of that comes from how Asian people were treated in fucking World War II. With the Japanese imperialist occupation of China, of like Southeast Asia. You hear a lot about like these fucked up occupations that happened. My even my grandpa was in Singapore when the Japanese invaded, and my grandpa told me to my face, like, yeah, I'd see like Japanese soldiers sometimes come in and just like steal people's stuff and just like murder people, and it's just like the most horrible things. And that really made me anti-imperialist, and see imperialism as sort of like a pure evil.
Mm.
But I've been doing some thinking, and I think there has to be I think I've shifted to a common ground where, you know, at one hand, I still can say what the Japanese did was objectively wrong, but still concede some merits of imperialism and wanting to expand your domain of your empire. And one thing that really made me switch in my decision was the city called Venus City. I'm joking the name. It's called Benin City, Benin, and
Okay.
it's in
That's so
Africa.
funny though. Okay.
It's in Africa, and it's like, okay, so to set the scene, you were in the 1800s, and the mad grab for Africa's land is happening, and there you have these British explorers exploring the African continent, and they're making all these expeditions to these different areas, and they're writing these letters back to their motherland, like, yeah, this is what we found here, this is what we found here. On one of these expeditions in 1897, the letter
Shit.
really struck out to me. So let me see if I can find it here. So one of them wrote, as we neared Benin City, we passed several human sacrifices, live women slaves gagged and pegged on their backs on the ground, the abdominal walls of their stomachs being cut in the form of a cross, and the
Oh.
uninjured gut hanging out of their stomachs. These poor women were allowed to die like this in the sun. Men, slaves with their hands tied to the back and their feet lashed together, also gagged, were lying about. As we neared the city center, sacrificed human beings were lying in the path and bush, even in the king's compound. The sight and stench of them was awful. There were even pits where the dead and mutilated bodies seemed an endless sight. By God, may I never see such sights again. And,
Mm.
you know, after reading that, you put yourself in the shoes of one of these like British explorers, and it's like, dude, why wouldn't you conquer these fucking people? Why wouldn't you fucking bring these people to heel? They're disgusting, and they're fucking their entire city. It's a human sacrifice ritual, and they clearly have no regard for their own fucking people with how they sacrifice them. So people give a lot of shit to fucking colonialists and imperialists for fucking changing or shifting the destiny of people by forcing them to do stuff. But it's like, I'm sorry, if I see something like that, if I see a city where the walls are filled with fucking dead bodies and human sacrifices, you people need to be fucking stopped at any cost possible.
Your description sounded like the setting of the game Outlast 2. I don't know why I'm saying that. You're like in some fever dream of some religious fundamentalists, and everyone in this like
Except it was real.
strange, yeah, everyone in this strange town is all like killing and eating each other, and the game hints it's because there's some like strange government emitted frequency that's causing them to go insane, and there's like a larger experimental project going on. But from what you're actually saying directly, what it immediately made me think of is what's going on with Saudi Arabia right now. Okay, so in Saudi Arabia, they're buying up a lot of sports globally. Golf has fallen victim to it. Esports, which I watch, especially Counter-Strike, just had a large Saudi Arabian esports tournament. And some people say, hey, it's a bit hypocritical for these Western brands to do business with Saudi Arabia because they, I don't know, stone women to death or execute gay people, etc. And in my mind, I say, well, it is a bit of a cop-out. Because I do want to say human life is valuable, but to me, I say this is a different region of the world where they have completely different laws, morals, and religions, and some things that we view as reprehensible, like violent forms of execution, are a way of life for them. And it's a way of life for them because it can protect them from what they view as a spiral downward in societal order. So you're able to kind of have a nuanced discussion about what is the limitation for global human rights. What is a global human right? If you see something as grotesque as a human being, I don't know, ritually sacrificed for no other reason than some inane god that a tribe made up, and they're eaten alive, etc. Would you say,
or they have their fucking guts spilling out with their stomachs cut open? You know?
Yeah, to me, is that an actionable violation of a global human right, or is that their culture? That's just, oh, well, that's just their culture. That's how they do it. With Saudi Arabia, I think there's room to have a discussion, okay? Especially since we've seen the results of the slippery slope, maybe in the West in some ways that people did predict and other people refuse to see the effects of it right in front of them. But with what you're describing, I mean, when you're walking through and you're seeing that and you're recording it, maybe it is your place as the more, let's say, morally concise and controlled global apparatus to do something about it. I mean, I feel like you would have to at that point.
Also, those explorers, you know, I don't think people give this much thought, but like those explorers compared to anyone in that city, they are more intelligent. Any one of those explorers are more intelligent than any single one person in that city that does human sacrifices. So it's like, you know, maybe as someone that's more intelligent than you should take what we say with a grain of salt. You know, maybe don't sacrifice people like that, you know?
Unfortunately, people would say, oh, well, intelligence is only like, you know, a measurement based on other observer. You know, it's something stupid like that. It's like, no, we have a more refined culture where we don't sacrifice each other and eat each other. So are we supposed to impose that onto them? And a lot of the times these people who are naive think, well, we can teach them. We can teach them our way of life and they'll learn from it. And usually the opposite ends up happening. We end up adopting the worst parts.
Counterpoint to that point that you just brought up right there. Mm-hmm. So people love to say, oh, we can teach them. And my counterpoint is the story of the Pakistani dolphins. Okay. So this is this is sort of a part two to the story that I just talked about, the human sacrifice city. So the Benin city that took place in 1897, long time ago. The story of the Pakistani dolphins is happening right now, and for those of you who don't know, the story is basically in the Indus Valley near Pakistan and India. There is a species of dolphin which is getting placed under near endangered, but not nearly endangered, because apparently the Pakistani men have a tradition of raping these dolphins as like an initiation ritual or something. So it's like, so it's like, you know, we've given they've had like a couple hundred years to learn and to not learn how to rape dolphins, you know, with modern technology. You know, I'm sure those people have access to iPhones or smartphones, and maybe they could learn to like look up you know, subtle human ethics. but they haven't done that. They're still raping dolphins. So it's
Never mind. I'll just rape a dolphin.
Yeah.
Nah, I'm good.
Yeah. So I think really brings the question: how much can you really teach? Before you have to act as a forceful hand.
I don't think you can teach anything at all. I think when you have an anthropologically recessive population that's just never been able to properly cultivate itself beyond what it has been for maybe the past, 1,000 years, you're not going to break them out of that. Okay, that's ingrained. I don't want to. I'll skate around it. Okay, that's ingrained in their culture. Let's say the people that they bore, their upbringing, and maybe a few other extracurriculars that you can kind of infer for yourself.
Well, just this one quote from this article. The locals liken the dolphin's genital to the sexual organs of human women, and that's oh my god.
And those are people who we'll put it this way, right? You don't have to be anti-imperialist, right? That doesn't mean that you should be so anti-imperialist that you allow proxy imperialism to happen to your own country, because the reverse of the Pakistani dolphin is happening in the West right now. Europe has already learned from it. I think a lot of eyes are going to be open from what's going to happen in Paris in the upcoming Olympics, and people are finally going to see, oh, wow.
Except in this case, Paris is the metaphysical dolphin that we're talking about. And they're raping that dolphin.
So maybe what you're trying to say is, if a culture is inherently better, let's just say objectively, if there were a way to measure it, they should have the obligation to invade a nation or, gathering of tribes that is violating what they perceive as global human rights. You think they should just be able to run in there?
I don't think you should go out for the sole purpose of doing that. But,
at least acknowledge that they're a lesser culture, right?
No, you can also acknowledge that they're a lesser culture. But, as an empire lives and breathes, it is bound to come in contact with other cultures. And, I think the correct code of conduct should be, if a civilized culture comes in contact and trades or encounters a not so civilized one that needs to be taught some things, teach them and really use a forceful hand, because
I don't think you can teach them.
I hate this, or that's what I mean by use a forceful hand. Like, just say, like, you're not allowed to cut people's stomach open and put them on crosses and sacrifice them anymore. I'm sorry, maybe your god's gonna be pissed off about that, but you're just not doing that anymore. But I really hate to say this phrase, but it's like, dude, it's 2024. Like, can we just like pull up some of the fucking dregs?
Okay, Justin Trudeau.
Yeah, well, that's why I hate saying that. But you get what I mean, though. It's like, dude, we're 2,000 years past like the height of the Roman Empire. Can we have like a floor, please? Can we set everyone at like a floor level of basic decency?
Well, isn't it one of the only unstudied tribes still in existence that we're on purpose not making true human contact with? The Sentinel Island tribe? I think it is. So to your point, we're aware of the proclivities of all nations and people within those nations, and we should be able to make determinations on whether they are functioning parts of a civilized society or not. Because what I'm trying to get at is, like you said, it's 2024. They're not going to change. That's it. That's settled. Those are, I don't want to. Those are known qualities. I was trying not to say quantities because it's not to do with those are known qualities.
I think we have enough data to speculate as to which societies are competent and not. After so if you take back to like the creation of the pyramids, like 3000 BC, that's like what, nearly 5,000, 6,000 years. I think if your civilization can't independently create writing in 5,000 years, just take the L, bro. Just take the L, and then let others do the work for you. Okay, just take the L. You know what I mean?
Take the ancestral L. I'm sorry to say this, and it's not really anecdotal. It's more about using your own eyes and, I guess, not refusing to look away when you see it in front of you. Wherever these integrated civilizations go that maybe don't have concrete Western origins, it's disgusting. It's disgusting. It's dirty. You'll see something happen akin to
it doesn't even have to be Western
dolphin rape.
It doesn't have to be Western like China. They've got fucking written history. They've got fucking like irrigation and stuff. It's just like for some reason there's just weird fucking pockets of the world where just no one has not killed above 85. You know.
But when you see like the most vile, like flagrant destruction of human civilization and just like with like individual crimes, it's always happening in the same places. I think we're all trying to say that we hate India right now. I don't know. Well, we might as well just say that and save the 20 minutes. But I really, let's just say no one's doing themselves any favors in or around that region. And we have a whole episode dedicated to that already. I'm just annoyed because, I was talking to you about it yesterday. I saw some clip. This is where our family used to enjoy going to a lake every summer. And now there's 20 Indian guys there. Okay. It's like, okay, well, that's kind of disruption of the natural order of culture. And it's probably not a good thing. And I understand that's probably not the most polite thing to say, but what do you want me to do about it? It's changing the face of who we are. It's changing the face. It's changing the face of housing. It's changing everything. Jobs.
Also, that video, which we made months and months ago, is, dare I say, a lot more prescient than we used to think it was.
It's aging gracefully.
It's aging really gracefully, because when I made that, it was sort of like at the forefront, saying like India's speed running its way to becoming the most hated nationality across the world. But you fast forward to where we are now, dude, they're really speedrunning to becoming that status, dude. Like, it's also, if you go on Twitter, you'll see it all the time. Like Canadians complaining about like your country being taken over. But the weird thing is, you also see these smug fucking people that we're describing, like being smug in the comments, like, yeah, you deserve this. It's like, oh,
we are replacing you.
Yeah. Glad that you're just saying it out right now. Cool, thanks.
Our disgusting, like, ass wiping, then food making culture is replacing you, and it's awesome. It's like, oh, okay, great. So you acknowledge that it's disgusting. You acknowledge that you're a plague that needs to just be that needs to spread across the earth like locusts. Thank you. Weird that none of us are doing that. Strange.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just
maybe,
you.
Just good old good old.
But that's the American way, right? Like, what do you want to say?
Look, as long as they come here legally, right?
Yeah. That's